Good evening. It's Wednesday, May 21st. Welcome to the Finance Committee. Can I begin with roll call, please?
Mr. Grimney,
Here.
Mayor St. John,
Here.
Mr. Capel,
Here.
Mr. Ayer, here, Mr. Ghost, Mr. Martin,
Here.
Mrs. Cooper, here. 7 present. We have quorum.
Thank you. We have meeting minutes from our April 16th meeting. Looking for a motion to approve. Motion to approve. Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second by Mr. Ghost.
An edit.
Okay.
I was just looking at this roll call and I don't know if the mayor was here or not, but I was not here. I feel like he might have been here. This was for the finance meeting.
Okay,
Cause I missed
I'll
that.
double
meeting.
check it.
I feel like he missed the following council meeting.
Okay, I will double check it.
Okay, thank you.
I was not here at the finance meeting,
Okay.
but I was at the council meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Grimney,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ayer. Yes. Mr. Capel,
Yes.
7 yeas, minutes.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to new and unfinished business. And it looks like first off is the wage and salary ordinance. We've been bringing about, looking for an update.
Well, go ahead. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mhm.
All right, so in your packet, this is an item that's also on the council agenda for later this evening. Each year when we do the budget document, we've also, at least in the last couple of years, have also done an ordinance amending the wage and salary structure for the city. So this was approved with the last year's budget. And what you have in front of you are some proposed revisions that would affect staffing this year. I've asked Deputy Chief Wade to be here as well because there are some that affect the police department. I can begin by saying this, though, that all of the changes that are on this document, none of them affect the budget appropriation amounts. So they're really essentially title changes for a variety of reasons. So the first one, let me just note, is the under the first sort of chunk of positions, the administrative positions, you'll see the next to the last item there. We did have on the this wage and salary structure ordinance, an economic development manager built in, although we had 0 next to it. So there was nobody in that position. We weren't anticipating hiring for that position. What we're proposing is to change that title to a director of development. And I've included an attachment in the back behind the ordinance where you can see the current proposed position description for that. Essentially, what I'm trying to do here is, you know as well as anyone that, the city is growing pretty rapidly. There's a lot going on in both the planning and the economic development front. We are currently, undertaking the largest single fixed asset investment in the city's history with the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. And so the purpose here is to identify, a senior level position in the city to provide support to our planning unit, but also to provide support to the economic development efforts that are underway as well. I mentioned the significant infrastructure projects that are taking place. I do need to free up some time for Ms. Odabrowski to be focused on those. And so that's another reason to add the planning component to this particular position. So that's the reason for that. Like I said, it would not affect the overall budget, but it does change the title. And we just want to make sure we're clear.
So for clarification, though, it's just a title change. We had already budgeted the full dollar amount.
We hadn't budgeted an amount for it, but like I said, we'll be able to, given our current staffing plan, we'll be able to fund it within the existing budget.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yep.
Is that title reflective of similar positions in other municipalities? Is it?
It is. I mean, there are definitely other communities that are using something similar. Some use some use a community development director, which includes both kind of a planning component and economic development. Just didn't feel like maybe we were quite there yet. So
I only ask because whenever I see director of development, I see them as fundraising positions.
Yeah. Well,
It just might be from being from OSU.
yeah, in the public sector, that's not what a director of development does. So anyway, and then the other changes are for the police department. So DC Wade, if you want to just walk through those.
So we're looking at increase from here, the part-time officers, we have 4. And it's repositioning actually a part-time officer within the budget to a bailiff probation clerk, more from assignment of a patrol part-time officer to one that serves as the bailiff, Jeff Brooks, specifically with the detail to just work within the mayor's court realm. His assistants will also be with Kathy as the deputy director. And then some titles here just changed, specifically adding in property tech. We have people that do multiple things, and it's just catching their titles up with what they do.
And maybe one other important point there, the title change as it relates to the mayor's court also ensures that proper security can take place in the building when the court system is going on, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry, they added in probation in the title so that you can actually carry a firearm and certify for the security of the mayor's court.
So any questions, comments, thoughts?
Those are-
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Was there, I'm sorry, was there talk of having two police analysts? Because I see it here and then I see it scratched out and I'm kind of confused.
I could speak to that. I think that was just a reorganization of the positions within the chart.
Oh,
So-
okay,
So no plan for two, just
all right.
moving it around.
okay. Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate it. If we're ready to move on, I think that just takes us right to the quarterly investment review.
Yes, thank you. It's that time to go through another quarterly investment review. So this, a lot of the same information. I feel like I regurgitate the same thing back every quarter because the money still hasn't changed a whole lot, and the economic position has not changed a whole lot at all. But we do have roughly 21.2 million total in cash and investments. And about 45% of that is sitting in overnight liquidity between Star Ohio and First Commonwealth Bank. I do watch the Star Ohio interest rates, and they are holding steady. They're still quite high, about 4.7%, so which is still very good. So I am not in any rush to move those monies out of Star Ohio since the rates are still doing very, very well for us. We do have increased monies in the Fifth Third Securities. I believe I added approximately $1 million this year to the laddered investments so that we can take advantage of those laddered scales for receiving higher interest rates. Our duration average of the laddered investments is about 1.3 years, and we're yielding about 4.41%. So very good interest rates there. And the next page, it just shows the breakdown of the security types and how the pie chart there, how we're investing our funds. And finally, for the economic update, if you would like to read a little bit of that about the Federal Open Market Committee, talks about how they're cautious to raise or change interest rates due to inflationary pressures. So the rates have stayed pretty steady right now due to those concerns, which is good for us. Money. That's the investment.
That's it?
review.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions from Ms. Stefan? Okay, appreciate the information. Now I think it's on the year-to-date comparison reports.
Yes. Starting on page 13 of your packet, we have the revenue report through the month of April. And since we're 1/3 of the way through the year, I like to compare to see where we are compared to 1/3 of what we've budgeted. The very first line there for real estate property tax, we've received the first half distribution in April, and it was higher than expected. So that's good news for us. We'll probably get about maybe 50 to 100,000 extra than what we've budgeted. So that's good news. Interest income down about 3/4 of the way down that page is looking really good. We've budgeted 400,000 for the year, and we're already at 263,000. So looking very good. Other revenue I'd like to draw your attention to on page 14. In the other intragovernmental revenue, we have received $25,000 for the Martindale property for reimbursement on that grant that we had come into an agreement several years ago before I started. I believe that is finally closed out and we've received all the money that we were able to obtain. So,
That was a long time coming.
yes.
We spent $1 million.
Mhm.
25,000 was the rest of it. We did have more last year.
Sure.
Okay. As far as other revenues go, on page 15, I just want to draw your attention to a couple of the impact fees. The impact fees for the municipal and the impact fees for the roads. Those are both coming in higher than expected at this point, primarily due to the Ohashi expansion. They've paid some impact fees that primarily went to the municipal building and roads. So you can see that there's we have collected more than we've expected as far as this point in time for those two lines. And that's all that I wanted to talk about for the revenues. I'll move on to the expenses, if that's okay.
I have two questions. real
Oh,
quick.
sure.
The Martindale property, which one was that?
Abandoned gas station.
On the corner over
Yeah.
here? Okay, that was how many years ago did
10 to 15 on the tear down, probably 15 on the tear down, and then the remediation took
Several years.
5,
Yeah.
4, 5
Yeah.
years.
that was a total of $1 million?
It wasn't really $1 million. I'm sorry. I was being a little bit sarcastic there. It was a lot of money. I mean, a $250,000 in remediation. So I think they had to do, the big expenses were, core borings, and then, they basically were like making sure that the soils were not contaminated and that any underground waterways, there wasn't petroleum or any other chemicals that were flowing into stormwater systems
Okay,
or adjoining properties.
okay. Then, the impact fees from Ohashi. The impact fees, even though we've collected more, for example, an impact fee would be for,
Well, there are 4 different categories. You mean, what do they apply? What do they go towards? There's municipal building, police building, roads, and parks. Those are the 4 categories we have.
even though we've taken in more, will our expenses be more?
Potentially, these impact fees are going to cover more higher expenses, yes.
So impact fees are another source of revenue that, as new development occurs or expansion of existing businesses occur, it's a small fee, proportionate to the expansion. So think Ohashi is expanding. In theory, they're gonna have more trucks on the roads, more employees on the road. Same thing with homes. It's the way we used to do it this was totally born on the backs of the taxpayers. So you and I paid income tax, and that's how we pay for things. This is an additional revenue source attributed to new development that helps us with these large capital projects. It can be used for things like the municipal building, police building, expansions, police vehicles, roads, new roads, not existing roads. You can't repave roads. You could build a new turn lane, things like that, or buy parks or purchase park equipment.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the revenue? Okay, moving on to the expenses. This begins on page 17 of your packet. Nothing on page 17 is out of the ordinary, although we do see some yellow there, but all of these differences and variances from budget are quite minor and ones that I've already discussed in previous meetings.
So could you help me understand? You probably have talked about this, and I've forgotten it, but the street lighting, why we've spent so much already?
Yes, the street lighting primarily, you see that $17,000 for Loeb Electric.
Yeah.
15,000, I believe, of that 17 was related to items that we had ordered for 2024 and should have gone against the 2024 budget. We did not receive the invoice and did not know that it was owed until this year. So unfortunately, that came out of the budget this year. Yes, and then still on page 17 towards the bottom, contractual services admin. As you can see, we are about 57% spent, primarily due to engineering, consulting. Verdantis, we have lots of projects going on, as you are all well aware. So those expenses continue to come in. And just to relate that to council, we have an appropriations ordinance for a second read on tonight to help increase the appropriation so that we can pay for these Verdantis bills that are coming in for all the many projects that Sunbury is going through right now.
Do you think for something like that is really, I mean, do you expect that spending to be that high for the remainder of the year? Do you think it'll start to balance out a little bit to stay within budget, or is your crystal ball not looking out?
The crystal is kind of cloudy.
Yeah.
Well, if I could jump in, I mean, so her note down here, 284,000 Verdantis, 200,000 of that East Side Utilities. So the big items that are coming out of Verdantis at the moment are engineering drawings or engineering related to the East Side Utilities and the Little Walnut Creek Interceptor. I mean, there are probably some other projects in there. Well, the street program would be another one that's probably pretty sizable, but Dana and I were talking a little bit about this as well. She's got a project code attached to each one of these projects. East Side Utilities is one of those that we will recapture the funds at some point as the development goes to the east. So we want to make sure that we're doing a good job of capturing it now. So yes, it's out of pocket cost today, but it's one of those things that will be paid for by developers as the developments come online. So they're big projects, but they're also, I mean, priority projects for us. So it's not, these are things we can't stop, and we wouldn't want to stop because they provide lots of other benefits.
I don't know how difficult this would be. So I don't know if it would help anyone else or I'm just creating work, but for example, the $200,000, if we know at some point, we don't know when, but we'll recoup that. Should there, maybe make sure I'm not missing it, but could there be some type of note or notation to say, look, this is out of the budget, but we will be recouping this, and then in this category, so that way when you see that, yeah, we're at 90% or 70% or whatever, actually, we're really only at 50% because this is going to be recouped. Because it kind of, the way it paints the picture, if I'm just looking at this with, not having this conversation, you're going, holy smokes, we're on track to be at 200% by the end of the year or whatever. But if we're going to get that $200,000 back, that's a big chunk of what we've spent.
Yes.
So,
for accounting, there isn't necessarily a place to display that information. Besides, the only thing I could think of is maybe a budget book that we could put together and present to the public that would show what we've spent our money on, what we've received funds for. And annual financial statements would be another place where we could elaborate on what's been spent.
I don't mean to make anything that I was even thinking just an asterisk beside on this report that just shows and then a note that says this will be recuperated at a future date. Something that simple, just to say, okay.
I see.
Yeah.
For internal purposes?
Yeah, for internal. Yeah. So when you look at this, you don't go, oh boy. And we can say, okay, we're going to get $50,000 back, $2,000 back, 200, or we're going to get something back. We just don't know what. Something like that.
Yeah. And I can add a note going forward. If something we're spending money on is intended to be recouped in the future, I can.
Yeah, awesome. I don't know if that would be great, but I think it just helps me not panic to think that, we're a third of the way through the year and we're 3/4 of the way through a budget.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, you keep in mind, this is part of the Finance Committee packet, so it is a public document. So to the extent that we can be a little bit clearer about that, I think would be good for the public as well. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
Moving on, page 18, nothing major there to discuss. At the bottom of the page, I will comment on the yellow section down there. These were fees related to the property tax disbursement. So these get paid twice a year when we receive the property tax settlement. So therefore, we've paid half of it. It's only a third of the way through the year. So we're showing that we've spent more than we should have at this point, but it is on track, if that makes sense. Page 19, I will just comment on the street supplies towards the top of the page. We're at 51.8% spent, and that is primarily due to road salt. This appropriation will hopefully be increased if council approves. to help cover additional expenses. And, okay, so Verdantis SS4, the Safe Streets for All, that's on page 19, section 201.901, contractual services street. We've spent about 49% so far. And we are going to start receiving reimbursements from the state for this project. We've received a grant for $120,000. It's a reimbursable grant. So we have submitted requests to be reimbursed and we're waiting on those funds to come in. So another place I can put an asterisk and indicate that we're.
You can pick the symbol. I don't, whatever symbol you want to pick.
No, that's good.
Flower.
Yeah.
Very good, very good tip.
Should be a caricature of John Grumney.
Please, no.
There's nothing else major that, or really that I need to bring to your attention for the rest of the expense packet. It's just normal in the course of business, so.
Okay. All right. Any other question about revenues and expenses? Okay, does that take us to the bank to book reconciliation and the check register? I
Yes.
think? Okay.
So the bank to book reconciliation is on the front of your packet. We have a total of $21,844,382 and some change in the combination of our bank accounts. Outstanding checks were about 80,000 and the variance between the bank and book was only 332, which I've identified and can provide details upon request. I'd like to also go through the check report, which is on page 23 of your packet. 23 through 28 of your packet. Just a few things I'd like to point out. On page 24, there's a $29,000 payment to Ironsight. That's for the Walnut Street stabilization. And we do have a grant for that as well. So we will be receiving that money back. Reichert, we paid $26,290, and that is for the city vehicle. Coughlin Ford, we've paid $71,060, and that was for a new F-550 truck, which will be converted to a plow, I believe. It's for the street department. So that's what those purchases were. And those are the major ones I wanted to talk about.
So those are budgeted items. We talked about them, I think, in the last finance committee meeting, just to walk through what the service team was about to purchase. So.
And then on the very last page, I just saw this and I'll bring this to your attention, page 28 of the check report. You'll see three little amounts at the bottom there. They're negatives for Mayor's Association of Ohio, Yummy Donuts, and a sewer refund. These were checks that were never cashed and they were written in 2024. So when I canceled them in the system, we put them back into, I booked it as a negative expense, basically. So that's why they're showing up here as a negative on the check report.
Lose our membership to the Mayor's Association?
I'll have to contact them and see why they never cashed the check. Maybe they said, you get a freebie. I don't know. I can.
Still
reach
receiving
out.
the emails and that they do put out good information.
More importantly, is Yummy Donuts mad at us?
What I was thinking, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, from my perspective.
We're paid. I don't know why they didn't cash
I
it.
hope they're not mad at us. Yeah, wrote it off. Huh?
That's right.
There's one more thing, the one last page of your packet that there's nothing on the agenda for this, but I did receive this from Rita just today, and I thought it would be appropriate to share with Finance Committee. It is a letter. I get this letter once a year when Rita reviews the allocation of their costs that they retain some of the money and move it towards administrative fees. Well, they do an analysis of how that has played out for them throughout the year. And if they need to return any of it to us, they do. And this year they're going to be returning $71,000. So we'll see an additional $71,000 in our income tax. Yes. And I typically do see a refund every year. It's been about the same amount for the past 3 years, if I recall. So Rita is doing pretty good job of collecting our revenues and administrative costs are not as high as they anticipated. So that's good for us and we get the refund. So good stuff. Okay.
Very good. Well, thank you. And there's a year-to-date income tax collections. Is that, we covered that, right? Or no?
That's just the year-to-date income tax collection. That's the table.
Oh,
on
the table
front.
below. Yes.
Yes, which I did not touch on, but I can briefly. Every category has increased from last year to this year. So we're continuing to be on the upside of getting these collections. So it's good.
Great. Any questions for staff, Ms. Steffen, Mr. Hennessy, on anything we've discussed?
Well, going back to the services that you were concerned about, or the costs that are, that will be reimbursed for, some of those are one-time costs, aren't they? Like the Civic Plus, isn't that a one-time fee?
Well, we pay Civic Plus for several different software uses, and we pay them approximately once a year for the various licenses that we have purchased. So when you say one time a year.
For example, here's one, Joey Thomas. Would that be a one-time fee?
No, we pay him for services that he does for us throughout the year.
As an hourly rate, we like source projects through him. Like an example would be the State of the City, recap video and media services.
Okay, I think that takes us to the end. Thank you very much for the information. I appreciate it. And it looks like our next meeting, it's hard to believe I'm saying June 18th, but we will be in the throes of summer at that point. So I guess I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Motion by the mayor,
Well, second?
second by Ms. Dreyer, and that rhyme. Mayor and Dreyer, all right.
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Capel?
Yes.
Mr. Ghost?
Yes.
Mr. Grumney?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
7 yeas, we are.